Hello everyone, this is Ankit Sharma and I have passed AWS Solutions Architect Associate Exam SAA-C02 and I wanted to share all my experiences and my conclusions of how the syllabus should be or what all things should be covered in order to successfully pass SAA-C02 or SAA-C02 in the very first attempt. And in this video I will discuss all the parts of the syllabus, including all the things which is mentioned inside the AWS official preparation guide. So just let's not waste time and let's get to work and see what we need to do if we want to prepare for SAA-C02 exam. So I'll go straight back to the official certification exam guide, and it clearly says that for you to pass this examination, you must be able to define a solution using architectural design principles based on custom requirements. So, there can be so many requirements based upon the so many different solutions. You have to find an architectural design pattern and or you can say an architectural design which can solve that problem, and which can not only solve that problem, it can solve it efficiently and in a fault tolerant manner, keeping the high availability to the best. So this is what this definition means. This is what you must be able to do. You have to be able to find solution to many different architectural problems which the customer can receive. So the second point is you have to not only create those solutions, you don't have to only suggest those solutions, but you also have to find a way to efficiently implement that solution. This is the entire goal here in front of you, that you have to find solutions. Your mind has to be able to find solution of problems which are related to architectural design or architecture, and provide the best implementation guide, or provide the best implementation way which can further decrease the implementation or deployment efforts. So this is all about your abilities, what you must possess in order to pass this exam. Now we'll talk about all the different AWS sections or knowledge which is required to get those abilities. So they have mentioned 1 year of hands-on experience, but trust me, 1 years of hands-on experience is not at all necessary. All you need to do is make yourself familiar with all the sections of AWS, all the services of AWS, and see how all those connect with each other. Also, you must surely have the hands-on. You can remove this 1 year from here and can read only hands-on. You should have hands-on experience on things, but you should not. This is not necessary or compulsory to have 1 year of hands-on experience. You should get your hands dirty and dive deep into all the services which are there, and that would be just enough. So, and the next point they mention is using compute, networking, storage, and databases services. These are the typical services which are used in a three-tier network, three-tier network application or normal application. So you must be having a compute server, networking flow, and the storage devices and the databases which will connect to the backend and UI. So these are the native necessary or native necessities of the application, which is either two tier, three tier, or any application. These are part and parcel of each application you develop in the cloud. And the next is deployment and management services. These pertains to cloud formation, automated cloud, or which is just a way to automate cloud deployments, and code pipeline, code deploy, and everything of that sort, which is related to deployment or DevOps, you can say. So the next part is the next section I can say is define technical requirements for AWS based applications. So suppose if you have a web application currently running on on-premise servers, you must be able to know what requirements it will have on cloud architecture when you go on to develop that application in cloud. The next one is uh, the next here I can say is the global infrastructure. It means if your application is global or have a user base which is global, how are you going to define it? That's what this section covers. Network technologies means you just need to have a better overview of VPC and subnets in the uh, EC2 service, because you have to know how everything is connected and how you want to form network connections to other things. And you should know recommended best practices, because you need to, if you want to make reliable applications, you have to follow certain practices which will give you that reliability in the system. And last but not least, all the security features and tools AWS provides, you should have a very deep knowledge of all the security related things, because the security is a very crucial factor in cloud application, and you must have a clear understanding of all the security features which AWS provides, or all the services which are related to security. So this covers all the high level aspects, the very high level aspects. Now I will deep dive onto what exactly needed on the service level for you to prepare for AWS SAA-C02 exam. So for you to be a solution architect, you must know five pillars of well architected framework, and which accounts for these five pillars: operational excellence, security, reliability, performance efficiency, cost optimization. You have to consider each and every one, and based upon these, you have to find solutions. Now, what about these four domains? These four domains are listed right here. You can see first one is the resilient architecture, second one is high performing architectures, secure applications and architecture that pertains to security, and then the cost optimization comes. So it is more or less the same five pillars or four domains, you can say, but the basis they form must be possessed by you, that you should be able to design something which is really high performant, which is secure, reliable and very efficient, and at the same time it should come at a very low cost. Now the next one is we have to cover these thing on a higher level, but we have to cover core services as well, and that too very deeply, because all these core services should be they will form the very core of each and every application you design. So you must be aware of all these core applications to the depth I'm saying, because whether or not you know much about AWS cloud formation or Athena or not, but you must know EC2 S3 RDS, because these are the old services and they are pretty much forms most of the cloud applications. So that's why all these core applications must be covered. You should never miss them. And the third factor which you must cover would be various architecture for high availability and fault tolerance. I'm mentioning this especially because high availability is something which AWS forces quite a lot. You have to be highly fault tolerant and highly available. So that is one thing. You will get to this point because in every service you talk about, like EC2, S3, RDS, they have certain availability and fault tolerance. So the question, whatever may be the service, the question will always come down to high availability and fault tolerance. So this is very important factor when you will learn about things. So please consider it and don't ignore it. AWS documentation and white papers are very critical sources. Please do not over please do not ignore all these, and go through all of them and ensure that you understand whatever inside them. And the last but not the least is at least two practice tests, because this exam is going to be long and very thorough. SAA-C02 will be a very comprehensive test, and hence to prepare for that you must know how to face that long and comprehensive exam and must practice it. So at least I would advise, before going to exam, just practice two or more practice tests. Now I will show you how you can go for understanding or preparing for all the services, core services, or either core services or any service. So I would suggest you to have a look at how we can understand one service and all the components associated with it. I will take three examples. Like, I'll show you how to study EC2, I'll show you how to study S3, and I'll show you how to cover VPC and networking. And the rest, I will give you all the syllabus which you can refer to and cover them in your own way or in your own speed. But I will give you an uh, overview of how to look at a service and what components and how all those components you should look at, like in all the detailing features. I have chosen all these services for you to have an overview. So suppose if you're learning EC2, you must understand the type of EC2 instances and the networking technicalities associated with it, like in which VPC or subnet your instance is, and how private and subnet differ from each other. Billing process and structures must be known to you. Provisioning and terminating instances is very critical thing, and you should be very thorough with it. And the another thing is about security. You must ensure security of your instances, and you must see what all steps needs to be taken, how you should configure your security group for your application or your instance to be highly secure. And not last but not the least, again, is EC2 under the context of high availability. EC2 is considered to have a very not very much of a high availability. It's about 99.95%. So it's not really good to have an application under just one EC2 instance, because if your AZ is down and that subnet goes down, you cannot have your application running. But instead, if you have two, three EC2 instances and they are behind an application load balancer, you can account for that unavailability of that AZ. Hence, these all things are really important when it comes to checking or assessing your instances on high availability. But I would like to mention one thing: all these things are important, but they are not the only thing which you need to cover. I have just given you an overview of how a simple service like EC2 can be divided into so many things and how you can understand all these things. So you should not miss even a single part of all these things, because all these things are equally important and very much probable to be asked in exam. There can definitely be a question on networking technicalities and all, or the high availability of instances, or how to secure the instances, and many more. So you have to see how, when you're studying, you have to see how to plan things according to the service and go ahead with that. So in the S3, suppose you can understand about S3 bucket storage tiers and lifecycle policies, bucket policies, assigned URL scores, and S3 URLs and its terminologies, billing plan, and these are all the things which are really important, and you cannot miss all these things. But they are not all. You have to expand your vision in a way that you understand, okay, if I'm studying for S3, I must know how I can access it, which will be through the S3 URLs. And if I'm using S3, how am I going to be cost, like what is going to be the cost for that usage, how am I going to log that thing up, how can I monitor the usage. So that again will depend upon the logging. If you're logging it, you can see who accessed it and how your S3 bucket has been utilized. And the next would be related services like Athena. So you can use S3 in parallel to Athena in parallel to S3, and you can load the logs which is stored in S3 into an SQL table and run queries to see who accessed your S3 bucket and what was the response code and everything. So all these things are still important, but they are not just all. You have to see, okay, if I'm gonna be after learning S3, then I should cover all these things related to it. So this is, I'm giving you a preview of how you can go for learning all the services, but this is not the entire syllabus. This is just a way to see a service in its parts and see how you can do justice to each and every part. And then we can see networking. In networking, you can see the configuration of default VPCs, just all the things which, all the services or all the things which comes as default. You must know the configuration with which they come, because the default configuration is something which can be asked in exam. And or if not directly, some things, some questions can be dependent upon that default setting. which AWS provides. So it's always good to understand all the default things. And the subnets, you have to understand what a subnet is, how it is orchestrated when we form private and public subnets. And all these are components of our VPC, and they are really important. You have to understand all such components. And the next one would be VPC peering. VPC peering is nothing but sharing your resources with some other VPC. And transit peering, which solves some of the limitations of VPC peering. And the next one would be VPC endpoints. You must always know about interface and gateway endpoints. They are really important. So this is how you should learn. So VPC and networking, they doesn't say all about all the services, but you should know, okay, VPC and networking are somewhere associated with route tables and everything, or security group or NACLs or anything. So you should be really shrewd in understanding a service and its components, because the questions will not be straight on the service itself, but it will be on its components and its connection with other services, or its relation with other components. So that goes. Let's talk about the rest of the syllabus. So you can see this and you can note all these services down. This is the entire syllabus. I have mentioned you all these things. So this is the last one, and you can see it has all the essential services which must be required if you want to prepare for this exam. And I'll give you an overview of each and every one. So this is elastic load balancer and ASG. You must understand how it works in relation to EC2 instances and fault tolerant architectures. And the next one is storage services. This is very important. A lot of questions will be asked just from this. And databases again is very important, especially Aurora. And what are the advantages of Aurora over RDS? In databases, I have not mentioned separately, but DynamoDB is another important thing to be learned. And it is really important that you understand all the databases which is provided by AWS, or just have an overview at least, from RDS to DynamoDB to Redshift, everything. And then the cache, elastic cache, memcache, and Redis, you have to understand how it works, not exactly to the point of molecular level, but you have to have an overview of it. And then the route 53 and its routing policies, there will be questions on route 53 policies. And there can be very good amount of questions from AWS IAM, because IAM is something very close to security. It's the backbone of security, and you must understand how it works when you are talking it about on an account level or an organization level. SCPs is service control policies, and you must know them. Permission boundaries is to limit the access. This is very important. Please do not skip all these things. CloudFront is important for global content distribution. It is very much asked service, and there is a possibility that this can come in your exam, and please do it very efficiently and effectively. Then you can say this is also another important service section, where you find all these services like SQS, SNS, MQ, and Kinesis. So these are all decoupling services which AWS provides, and they are used extensively in serverless architectures or many different applications. The API gateway Lambda, they all form this backbone of serverless architecture. Please, you have to go on every level and understand it. Then comes CloudWatch, CloudTrail, and AWS config for monitoring your services and ensuring the compliance. And then SSM secrets manager, KMS, this is also very important service. Encryption is all dependent upon KMS, and it is really important to understand KMS. And SSM for management of your EC2 instances. There are so many things in SSM which are relating to EC2 instances and are really important. And disaster recovery is again the foremost things. I'm making 2 stars here because disaster recovery is really important. Whatever architecture you design, it can fail. It has a possibility of failure. So if it fails, what are your disaster recovery plans? So all these things are your strategies which you employ for disaster situations. So please understand all these things like pilot light, warm standby, multi-site. What are these and what is the difference between each and every one of them? How is the cost associated with the particular strategy? And the last is about deploying your applications. So cloud AWS is coming up with all these modern technologies where you can have every deployment automated right from scratch. You can have a single click deployment, and all your services will be up and running. So this is really important to understand all these services, not just cloud formations, code deploy, code start, code commit. They all give you orchestration of DevOps and containerization. ECS is the Elastic Container Service, which lets you run contain Docker and container. And there's one I missed here is Fargate. That is also a very good service, and you should study all these things. So this is just a category, and I hope you understand the perspective I'm trying to give you on the service level of the syllabus which is asked. You cannot see services being mentioned in this guide because they have not included services. So that's why I thought of giving you a perspective of including all the services and how you have to learn them. And last but again not the least is the white papers. I want to mention this separately because white papers are so important that you will find many important things which you would see in exam. Okay, this comes directly from the concepts you learned from white papers. It's really good, and the best part is it comes from very authenticated source. So they are really worked out and very nicely put up. So please don't miss AWS white papers. Thanks a lot again, and thank you for watching this video, and I wish you get your you go and have a good attempt of solutions architect associate exam and crack it on the very first attempt. Again, like and subscribe for more videos. I will definitely get down to all services levels. You will see me covering all these sections in further videos. Please like, follow, comment, and let's see each other again in the next video. Thank you.